Good afternoon to you. Thank you for joining us on Global News. I am Olubumi Obajemihi in the news. Senator Ekweremadu and wife to be sentenced today. Protesters call for head of UN mission in Sudan expulsion. Another mass shooting claims 8 lives in Serbia.
This is the news.
Senator Ekweremadu, who was found guilty in March of trafficking a man to Britain to harvest one of his kidneys, was sentenced at London's Old Bailey Court today. Ekweremadu and his wife, Beatrice, plan to give the organ to their daughter, who has a kidney disease. The victim, a 21-year-old street trader from Lagos, was offered $8,000 and promised a better life in Britain, but only realized what was going on when he met doctors in hospital. The Ekweremadus, along with the medical doctor who helped them, are the first people convicted of organ trafficking under Britain's modern slavery laws. The maximum sentence they could face is life imprisonment. Sudan's ambassador to Nigeria, Muhammad Yusuf, has pleaded with Nigerians returning from the conflict-hit country to consider returning when things cool off. Speaking after a batch of Nigerians returned from the country, Mr. Yusuf urged them to resume their studies and reopen their businesses after the fighting between the army and the paramilitary forces ends. He asked them to consider Sudan as their second country, expressing optimism that the fighting will be controlled soon. Meanwhile, another batch of Nigerians from Sudan is expected to arrive today. Protesters have surrounded the residence of the head of the UN mission in Sudan, Volker Perthes, in the eastern part Sudan city to demand his expulsion from the Red Sea state. Mr. Perthes and other UN staff moved to Port Sudan from the capital Khartoum days after the fighting between the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, RSF, and the Sudanese army erupted on April the 15th. In a series of tweets, a video of people carrying placards and waving Sudanese flags, the tweets received mixed reactions, with some users calling for Mr. Perthes' expulsion as others denounced the demonstrations. Pro-military and Islamist groups have held several protests against Mr. Perthes in the past. He also recently received death threats from Sudanese extremists. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres allowed the staff to move to Port Sudan, but said that the UN was not leaving. Still on the Sudan crisis, the United States says it expects the fighting between two military chiefs in Sudan to continue as neither has an incentive to seek peace. UN Director of National Intelligence Avery Ains stated this. Ains told the UN Senate hearing on Thursday. He said both sides believe that they can win militarily and have few incentives to come to the negotiating table. She said both sides are seeking external sources of support, which is said, if successful, is likely to intensify the conflict and create a greater potential for spillover challenges in the region. Fighting continued in Khartoum for the 20th straight day on Thursday after the latest ceasefire between the two sides failed. You're on to Global News from Adaba 88.9 FM, Akure, transmitting from Ilaramokin. After the break, another mass shooting claims 8 lives in Serbia. Do join us again.
The news on Adaba 88.9 FM.
Welcome back. For news, update, and live streaming, visit our website www.adaba889.fm or download Adaba FM app on Google Play Store. You can be part of us on our social media platforms www.facebook.com/AdabaFM 88.9 on Facebook, at Adaba 889 FM on Instagram and Twitter, and Adaba FM TV on YouTube. To provide us information via email, newsroom@adaba889.fm. Now to the rest of the bulletin. Some South Africans are calling on the United Kingdom to return the world's largest diamond, known as the Star of Africa, which is set in the royal scepter that King Charles III will hold at this coronation on Saturday. The diamond, which weighs 530 carats, was discovered in South Africa in 1905 and presented to the British monarchy 2 years later by the colonial government in the country, which was then under British rule. Now, amid a global conversation about returning artwork and artifacts that were pillaged during colonial times, some South Africans are calling for the diamond to be brought back. A lawyer and activist in Johannesburg has promoted an online petition which has gathered about 8,000 signatures for the diamond to be returned. A suspect has been arrested after 8 people were killed and at least 14 injured in Serbia's second mass shooting this week. The gunman fired an automatic weapon from a moving vehicle near a village 60 kilometers south of Belgrade. The Interior Ministry said the suspect was arrested after an extensive search. It comes after a boy killed 9 people at a Belgrade school on Wednesday, Serbia's worst shooting in years. Police announced the latest arrest this morning. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has expressed frustration at the United States' continuing efforts to extradite WikiLeaks founder and Australian citizen Julian Assange, who has been in a United Kingdom prison for the past 4 years. Albanese, who is in the UK for King Charles III's coronation, said he was frustrated that there had not yet been a diplomatic resolution to the issue and concerned about the mental health of the now 51-year-old. Today, Albanese told newsmen that there is nothing to be served by his ongoing incarceration. Albanese said Assange's case had to be examined in terms of whether the time he had effectively served was more than a reasonable sentence if the allegations against him were proved. Now to sports. With the imminent departure of Argentina's captain, Lionel Messi, at the end of the season, Paris Saint-Germain have started hunting for possible players as a replacement for the forward, with Michael Olise among those listed. Reports say the French champions are attempting to lure the Crystal Palace player away from the English Premier League, where he has emerged as this season's revelation. The potential move comes as Messi's future at PSG hangs in the balance after he was suspended for 2 weeks for an unauthorized promotional trip to Saudi Arabia. The club's supporters have been seen protesting against Messi, and the Argentine international is expected to leave the French giants this summer. Among the options to replace the 2022 FIFA World Cup winner are Olise, Ryan Cherki, Bernardo Silva, and Musa Dabi. However, Olise, signed by Crystal Palace for just £8 million in July 2021, has developed into one of the best attackers in the Premier League, scoring 2 goals and providing 9 assists in 33 appearances this season. Olise is the youngest player to register at least 9 Premier League assists since Trent Alexander-Arnold in 2018-2019, and his 9 assists are the 4th most in the Premier League this term. The 21-year-old has caught the attention of several top European clubs, including Arsenal and PSG. To end global news, a recap of our top stories. Senator Ekweremadu, who was found guilty in March of trafficking a man to Britain to harvest one of his kidneys, was sentenced at London's Old Bailey Court today. Protesters have surrounded the residence of the head of the UN mission in Sudan, Volker Perthes, in the eastern Port Sudan city to demand his expulsion from the Red Sea state. We further told you that 8 people were killed and at least 14 injured in Serbia's second mass shooting this week. That's Global News as edited by Sunday Ajiboye. I am Olubumi Obajemihi. Thank you for listening. Do enjoy the rest of the day.
The one moves as a fast